divorcement. I said we, as my whole family, but my father as a separate. I asked for a divorcement. My sister and I had constantly talked about a divorce, and I interpreted it as a divorcement. Therefore, my family life was not all that great. My father and my mother were constantly fighting, and our happiness was not there. No one was happy in that relationship. Yet, my mom and dad persisted, and they fought to be married for another 10 years. So in altogether, they were married for 19 years. But those 19 years were such a horrible time for my mom that she has yet to regain her happiness. And it has been about 8 years since. So, obviously, divorce in my life was a good thing. Divorce can be a good thing for those in a horrible environment, like the one my mom, my sisters, and I were in. Divorce is an opportunity for enlightenment, for a happiness to finally begin to happen after so many years of being in the dark and in horrible environments. Therefore, I fully believe that divorce needs to lose the stigma of negative, and those who participated in the divorce, those are losers, they're slackers. They gave up. That is not what divorce is. Divorce simply is when two people cannot reconcile, or if they simply have fallen out of love. However, divorce is also a great opportunity for those in an abusive relationship to finally be released of that. No longer should people be hurt in a relationship. They will have that outlook. However, currently, within religion and society, people struggle to see that there is a way out. My mom, for instance, was married before my father, and after that divorce, she was shunned by the church. She's Catholic, so obviously that had to happen, but it shouldn't have had to happen. After the divorce with my father, my mom, my sisters, and myself were all shunned as well. This just shows that divorce is not accepted, and those who are part of the divorce are not a part of society in the way that everyone else is. However, divorce is so common. 50% of marriages end in divorce. Therefore, why are we making it as this abstract notion when it is simply a thing that happens all the time? We need to finally realize that divorce is a good thing, can be a good thing. While I understand some divorce cases aren't good, the family was broke apart. The kids were happy. However, you have to look at the parents. If they weren't happy and they finally found happiness by being away from each other, the kids will then find happiness afterwards. It can be a struggle for a while. That is some of the research that I found, that you have to find the happiness after a divorce. It doesn't simply come. So, therefore, I have the Daily Mail on March 25th, 2014 explains almost half of those who go through a marriage breakup believe their lives are damaged by the stigma. Women are twice as likely as men to feel the shame of divorce. Traditional views of marriage remain strongly entrenched despite decades of steady erosion of the privileges and legal status that once went in it. The Huffington Post on March 25th, 2014 explains that reclaiming happiness can often make a better parent. Therefore, by having the two parents separated, they can finally then find happiness and then become a better parent on their own. Now, there is the stigma of a single mother lifestyle, and my mom is the greatest. And so I am one of those that beats the odds. There's another stigma attached to those of divorced kids, oftentimes saying that we're going to be felons, we're going to steal, we're going to do all of this negative things in our lives. I can say that I've only stolen a newspaper in my life, so that's all that I've had to do. Other than that, I haven't had those divorce stigmas attached to me, but they are still there. People, when I tell them that I'm a divorced kid, they always kind of look at me in a different light. They kind of look and say, oh, well, you must have had a bad childhood. I didn't have a horrible childhood. I mean, it wasn't great. Parents fighting every night, that sucks. But the thing is, the divorce is what let me be happy. That is the thing. With the divorce, I was depressed. I was struggling in school. But once my parents finally separated, I was like, yeah. So that night, after my mom left my father, we went on this car ride, my sisters and I and my mom. And we just blared music. I forget the song, but it was just such a great song. And we finally just felt released. We finally felt free of that horrible energy that was surrounding us. I was 13, and so for 13 years, I was shrouded in this negative aura. But then, after 13, I finally could be free and happy, and that's something that I think divorce doesn't have enough light shed on it. That divorce can be so good for those involved. And then, to go with that, Abby Rodman, Without This Ring, A Woman's Guide to Successfully Living Through a and Beyond Midlife Divorce, she says, a bad marriage corrupts your entire existence. And she said, once you've extracted yourself from that, you have the opportunity to think about the things in your marriage that didn't work for you. We all make sacrifices in marriage, and we should. But did you make really big ones that you can now revisit? Do you want to go back to school or become a writer or go to church every Sunday? Things maybe your ex-spouse wasn't supportive of. In some ways, it's an opportunity for reinvention. I know when my mom got her divorce, she went back to school, she got a degree, and that was an amazing experience. She finally got to be someone without having my father there to cower or to be over her and control everything about her life. She was free now. And so divorce allowed her to finally become the woman she was always wanting to be. And yet in that divorce, she was in this mold that she couldn't break out of. She had to be a mother. She had to be a wife who had dinner on the table every single night. But then the divorce occurred and she got to walk my dog every day. And that's what she wanted to do. She got to finally do what she loved. Do you know what time it is? Or like how much I've been talking?
You're at like...
You can just go on there.
Oh, good call. You're at 8 minutes.
Okay, and it's 8 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll finish it. And then Abby Rodman then says, the gifts of divorce may take some time to reveal themselves, but there are gifts. We need to realize that divorce isn't simply negative. Divorce has so many great things with it. And by making divorce only negative in society, in religion, in all these different parts, we are making those who are in that divorce category hurt, while they should be finally free of all that hurt that they've been going through.
Awesome. Well, every time, like, I went into this, like, man, because, like, the topic, I think, like, will, and I think I'm a good representation, like, make some people, like, a little uncomfy, because there is, like, such a stigma, like, divorce should be a bad thing. So I think you do a good job, like, at giving, like, good reason. As far as, like, my notes during the speech, if your points brought up, like, they're all really positive, which is, like, a good thing for you. Not for me to hit this hour. But,
it's only 15 minutes.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh, yeah, I thought you said 15 minutes. I was like, wait.
Oh, no, 15 minutes.
So my, like, first question, is there, like, going to be a call to action? Like, what should people do about this stigma? Because, and maybe I missed it. When I was like,
yeah.
So, like, are you going to call people be like, not necessarily, like, are you going to call people to, like, get divorces? Or is the call more so going to be, like, don't treat people who have had divorces differently?
It's more of the second, but it's also the first. The first is to not, like, box yourself in.
Yeah, okay.
And then more so the second, though, of, like, not judging a person based on, like, a divorce in their life.
So I think, like, a really, like, good way to bring that up in the speech is, like, obviously there's no one in that entire class that's married.
Yep.
Because, like,
Ashley's not.
Yeah. So no one in that class is married. So, like, I think you could address, like, address the fact that in there no one's married. So like
True.
for us and for your audience, it's really going to be like the stigma aspect. And I think you can still address like if you are in a toxic marriage, like don't count divorce out.
Okay.
Because like obviously no one actually is in that. But I think like your call to action should be like lose the stigma. Maybe you could. You can take that as far as having a call to action of what the class should do in whatever direction you really want. I just had another really good thought, but I lost it. And then like I wrote down, I really liked how you went from like serious to like a lot more lighthearted. You kind of like ebbed and flowed, kind of the same way there was like the what could be and then what is, like that model. But in like you did it kind of like very serious, like somber, like statistics and facts and like being in a dark place. And then like in your facial expression, like you get very serious, and then you go right, like you could like follow a flow of like happy to very serious. And I think that works especially for this topic really well. Yeah. Because like I think if the whole thing was either like way too happy, people would be like, wow, homegirl really likes divorce. That's kind of weird.
No, I know, yeah.
But if you're like very serious, and now they'd be like, oh my gosh, like I need to go talk to her. Is she okay? So I think that ebb and flow will like really help the audience like stay on board and like not so much like not let their mind wander, which I think it'll do, but like I think it'll keep everyone on board with that flow. So that was really good.
Yeah.
I wrote down like, so I guess this is like a big idea, so like you don't really have to talk about the other side of things because like this is your big idea. Who cares what anyone else thinks? But like, are you gonna mention like anything around like the lines of like if you are like you can work through things or
that's true.
Because like I think there's one like I think that you talk really heavily. I mean, obviously your whole speech is on like if it's in a bad. But is there anywhere where you think you want to mention or talk about like you know what like things can be worked through and like maybe it's like not the first go-to, but it's because I think like, and maybe this is like the like super conservative Christian boy in me that's like, you know what, I have a lot of faith that like things can be worked through. Like my parents, I was very blessed. My parents are like really good for each other, but there have been like months like where everyone like in my life, and it's only happened a few times, but there's like been a month or so where my parents like it's just off and there's a lot of tension, but like there's like a definite aspect like things can be worked out and like my parents are super happy together, and so maybe that's like an area to be like don't jump straight to it, but because I think like it might even rub some people not necessarily the wrong way, but like kind of put like the brake lights on to be like maybe like if people disagree like we shouldn't go straight to divorce. I think that's a way to keep like the more conservative young,
I know,
like Garrett hipsters in the audience.
I'm very liberal, so like that's it.
So I think that's like a happy like medium way to kind of ease into it, like be like address like maybe divorce isn't the first option, but it should be a viable option.
Yes.
And I think, and maybe I've misinterpreted, but I feel like that's kind of like I don't think you're encouraging people like if you have marital problems, end it.
No, yeah,
like,
but I need to make it more clear.
But if because like I think the topic is like if it's unhealthy and it's dragging you down as a person. It's okay to end a marriage. Yeah. And I think like more people can get on board when you're like kind of like in that clear like if it's unhealthy for you, don't be like it's not going to be fun at start, but it's okay.
True.
I think like if you kind of start off on that middle ground, like things can be worked out, but there's also like I think maybe it is like. Good that you like got paired with someone who's like the ultra like conservative like
it's good.
So like maybe that's like a way to kind of like tiptoe on that middle ground and then like get everyone on board with you and then you can just like jump right in and get like way into the so
I also don't think I addressed it as well as I should have, so like most definitely like make it clear what like I'm kind of arguing for.
I'm gonna get my note sheet out so I cover the right stuff so I can highlight. I'm just going to hope she's not listening to this part of the conversation, but...
You know what? I could just tell a joke. It's not fun. I only know one joke.
I know, I literally just had it. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
My French professor hands out at least 3 papers every class period.
You're in French?
Sadly.
Oh,
that's my worst class.
Yeah, I can imagine. I have not taken a language course since senior year of high school.
I haven't taken one in 3 years. or 4 years. I took French in high school and then jumped right back into it now. So.
That sucks. Do you have to graduate? Like, do you have to have one?
Yeah, I have to. Oh my gosh, where is it at? This is so bad. At this point in the semester, I get so unorganized.
Yeah, I got you.
By any chance, do you have the coaching rubric?
I have it on my laptop.
That could do. I literally, in my last class period, like, opened it up and was like, I need to do... Miss Coker, if you're watching, I'm very sorry.
Call her Miss Coker.
I get uncomfy calling her Ashley. It like makes me really nervous.
See, I've only known her as a coach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Oh yeah, I literally pulled it up. I just looked at the wrong side. I have it.
Okay.
All right. Then my notes. We just went all to hell right there.
It's fine.
It's fine. This is fine. It's all fine.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
This is a mess.
We'll get it sorted out.
So, I think like bordering the middle line, like what we talked about, I think that is like a good way to get like people like me. I think maybe I'm like the.
Yep.
I might be like of that category, like the far side of it. So like, if you can get me to be like, all right, I see where you're like on board.
Yeah.
That, and I really liked how you talked about like it's gonna be hard in the beginning because I think that it's like it would almost be like I wouldn't say rude, but it would be like bad to like be like, oh yeah, divorce is gonna be like a walk in the park and it's gonna be fun because because it's gonna suck. Like it's a loss. You're gonna have to go through a grievance process. Yep. But I liked because you mentioned that you were like in the beginning it was rough, but after a while things got back to like being much better, and I really liked how you did that.
Yeah, because I kept seeing articles on like divorce doesn't always guarantee happiness, and then I found one was like divorce doesn't guarantee happiness. You have to find it.
I really like.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Because it's like you're not losing part of your identity, but like my parents were married for 17 years, not 19. But like you form an identity with that person.
Yeah, I mean, part of like when you get married, part of who you are is your significant other.
Yes. And so once the divorce occurs, then you have to figure out who you are.
Mm-hmm. And like, even in like a dating relationship, like a breakup, like that, like the process of getting through that is like a grief. Like it's like losing someone. Like, so I think you did a good job of being like, you know what, like it's gonna suck, but you can find your own happiness through it.
Yep.
And then you use the example of your mom having to be like the stereotypical housewife to then being able to go walk the dog and do the things that she wanted to do, and then going back to school, and that was really well done.
Yeah.
Really, I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah.
I liked how you said you need to lose the stigma and change the role that divorce has in society. That was not your exact wording, but the way you worded it in there, and I'm sure like you'll probably word it like however it comes out. Whatever comes out on whatever day you speak. That's the exact same way I am. But you did a good job of just being like, I don't know. You worded it well, and I think that just will come naturally to you, judging by past speeches and kind of how we talked about how we both speak and kind of ad-lib a little bit.
True.
Actually, you didn't hear that. I feel like I haven't. Am I supposed to like get up and do modeling?
Did you like my hand gestures?
They weren't over the top, and they weren't like by your side, so I feel like that's good. But like, could modeling just be per se like?
You can like.
I don't know. Part of me feels like modeling can just be like when I talked about like. You did this good, per se, or...
Whatever you feel like.
I think I've been very encouraging.
Yes. I do think that one thing I need to work on, though, is the order. Because because I felt like it was.
I could see that, but I think maybe when you're ordering it and like you're working on your order, something to help that would be to like think about the serious to happy kind of thing we talked about in the beginning, because and like you can either take that with a grain of salt. Like if you're like, Garrett, that's a terrible idea, go for it. But I think like the way that you brought like it can be really good, like it's not necessarily a fun thing. It can be really like, and you brought like in your own experience that there was like the downs of like during your marriage when it was like really toxic for you, and then ups like afterwards. And I think if you like modeled your speech kind of to be like that ebb and flow, maybe that's a way to make sure.
Mm-hmm. Do you also think that I should talk only about myself in one part and then have like statistics and other things in another, or did you like that I like interwove them? Yeah,
I think I really liked how, and the very first thing I wrote was great anecdote. And I think the fact that you have such a good anecdote because in your experience, divorce like helped your family out a lot. Mm-hmm. I think that it's really good to keep your personal story in there, like woven in the entire time.
Okay.
Even though like while it's in there, you're also doing like statistics and resources and articles. And I think like writing the article and then talking about like what they're talking about, but in your own life.
Okay.
I think that that's a really good way to like, here's what someone who's like qualified to say this says, and here's my experience with it, and that lines up. And I think that's a good way to just like people are like, oh yeah, well that must be right because they're qualified and they say it, and her experience, like if it happened to someone, it has to be right. So I think like weaving your experience in, I think that's a really good way to like get people to be like, man, yeah, she's got to be right. Like there's no other except like she's got to be right.
Gotcha.
So I think I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that one thing you could improve is having a PowerPoint.
Yes. Yes. Do you have suggestions on what should be on it? Because like that, like I was thinking like personal photos, but like I also like.
Do you have a picture and like maybe I think everyone has just like an awkward like just bad family photo from like middle schoolish area.
I have something.
So I think like because you talk about like my family, like we weren't like things weren't well, and I'm sure like I know my family has just like a bad family photo. Where, like, you're probably all wearing, like, matching polos or something like that.
True.
So, like, I feel like maybe that, but if that's too personal, like, that's
I could do that, something like that. But, like, I just don't know what else to put on. Like, it's like, statistics.
I think, like, because you have, like, some hard number statistics, don't you?
I have, like, words.
Words? Yeah. Those are hard to...
I could find numbers, though, and I could put those on there.
I think maybe, like, having a graph to look at, maybe. And that's just a suggestion.
Yeah. Like, 50% of marriages all end. Or, like, the exact number, because I bet it's, like, 49.67, something.
And then you could do, like, a, I don't know, instead of just, like, a pie chart, like, do, like, if there was 10 people, and then do, like, little figures of people.
Oh.
And then, like, put smiley faces on all of them because you can be happy in both.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you do. I don't know. Maybe not. So definitely add a PowerPoint, but I'm sure you're gonna do that because like you don't speak until when? Friday. Yeah, you've got a week to make a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I think you'll be able to handle it. So that's good. Wow.
They're only 20 minutes.
We still have 25 minutes left to talk. Highlighted all 5 interventions annotated. Coaching session lasts at least 1 hour. Includes all required.
But it's only 15.
I think we've talked about general feedback to start. I think that's a check. I don't know what line by line.
Line by line is like when, like I could like say a line, like I'll just say it all again. I don't know what I can try it. Do you want to?
I mean, line by line is one of the things we have to do.
Yep.
And then modeling, I think we've done modeling. I think I've done encouraging. Mm-hmm. And then action. So like modeling and action plan, I would say, are the two.
The action plan will just, like, that's kind of like making the PowerPoint, making it more just like octave.
I think we could have completed this entire assignment in half the time.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
We should have had multiple coaches so we could all have stuff to say.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
This room's also hot. Like, the sun is... But she doesn't care. She can't feel the temperature in here.
Nope.
Great. We're doing great. We're having fun.
Woohoo!
Well, I think maybe line by line we could work on... Because I liked how you phrase lose the stigma. And then maybe we could also work on, like, if your call to action...
Yeah.
Was just like a really just like.
Yeah, and I also like I know because like right now it's like just you, but like in the class I'm like who has parents who are divorced, and like have them raise their hands, and then
I was gonna suggest I think that because obviously statistically half of the people should raise their hands.
Yeah.
So like maybe like mid speech you do that when you're like
mid speech you think?
I think that kind of like re-engages everyone because I think it's really like stereotypical that in the middle you're like, or no, you're in the beginning, you're like, everyone raise your hand, and everyone's like, all right, yeah, we're here, we're paying attention, and then halfway through they're like, nah, I don't
That's
know.
True.
But I think if you're like, because I think the 50% statistic came up at least a couple minutes in.
Okay.
I don't know if it did. Well, so maybe if you do bring the, like, even if it's just like a couple minutes in, that'll be a way that the entire class will be like, oh yeah, I'm back. Everyone's raising their hands. What's going on?
True.
And then I think everyone will get like re-engaged because like if you make people do something mid-speech, they're gonna be like back and listening.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I like that.
So.
But I like maybe like do line by line for the call to action thing.
Yeah, and I was thinking, as far as like your PowerPoint design, if you do like, so if you like write out a really strong call to action. Like, think about it and have it, like, worded eloquently. I think it would almost be neat to just have that, like, a slide that is just those words.
Okay.
Or, like, maybe just part of your call to action. So, like, the slide's, like, not necessarily blank, but, like, it is, like, your call to action is this big, like, we need to do this, or you need to do this. Even if it's just one word really big, or, like, the main part.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if it's just, it's okay.
Oh, I like that.
And then, like, you can, like, give, like, an eloquent, like, we need to, maybe that's an idea.
True.
Again, everything I'm saying, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, you can also just be like, Garrett, nope, don't want to do that.
No.
I'm not an expert. So.
No, but also, did you think that I said however and therefore too many times? Because I thought I did.
It wasn't enough that I noticed.
Okay.
But I'm also like, I was.
Yeah.
So.
Because I really was like, oh my god, I said however a lot.
When I was practicing my Pechakucha, or Pachakacha, however you want to say it, when I was practicing, I would say C, like, C, Tiger Woods, C, he did, C, and, like,
True.
I gave it for my girlfriend, she was like, what the heck?
Oh, your grandma said
No, my girlfriend.
Okay, I was like...
No, my girlfriend was like, oh, Garrett, that's so sweet.
Yeah, no, that's my mom, too.
I think maybe if you're just, like, conscious about it. I didn't notice it, but I wasn't necessarily listening for it, so I'm guessing it wasn't that bad, but
that's good.
Maybe just think about it, I guess. Yeah. So, how do you want to phrase your call to action, or we could work on how we want to phrase the, like, stigma thing, but I think the call to action is probably more important.
Yeah, because I didn't do that. So the call to action will then be just like we need to end the stigma part, or oh no, this is what our class can do.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. So then I could be like, if you understand that one of your friends is a child of divorce, do not treat them any differently. They are just like you. I am one, and again, I haven't done that many bad. That's so weird.
Yeah, I think like to your call to action, I think you can address because like obviously the fact that like us getting divorced is okay. Like if we're in an unhealthy relationship, like that's not relevant to us. I think you should address like, while I know none of you are married, I want it to be clear that like if your marriage is unhealthy, it's okay to end it. But for you, like, and then like so like address that, and then be like, for you, since you're not married, you should, or like we all should. And then that's like the don't treat like children of divorce or those who have been divorced any differently, because like it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Okay. Do you think it would be funny if I said, raise your hand if you're in a marriage? Do you think it would be funny, or would they just be like, what?
Oh yeah, you should be like, raise your hand if you're married. And then like, oh, maybe one person raised their hand and you're like, oh damn, didn't you realize that you're married?
I'll get you an engagement gift.
Yeah. I mean, if you're like, because there's like a possibility. I don't think anyone's married.
Jeremiah's having a baby.
But is he married? I don't know.
I don't know. He could be getting engaged. But I would be like, just keep in mind when and if you get married, that it's okay to get a divorce.
Yeah, you could be like, to my knowledge, I don't think anyone in here is married. Because I think it's a pretty good gamble.
Yeah, but I still kind of want to be like, so who's married?
Yeah, and then when like either one person or no one raises your hands, you can be like, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Like, didn't think so.
Yeah. Well.
So like when you do get married.
Yeah.
So I think like addressing that and then being like, since none of us, because then that like is a good way to like address your whole entire audience and be like, we are all in this boat together. We are all in the same on the same level. Mm-hmm. What we need to do moving forward, because none of us are married, our action is not like ended if it's unhealthy. Our action is don't stigmatize people who like are either divorced or are children of a divorced home, because like the stigma affects both parties. Mm-hmm. So how you want to word that, I think, is more in your ballpark, but we can work through it.
Line by line. Okay. Do you want me to try to do the part with the married thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can just.
All right.
Let's go for it.
Here we go. So raise your hand if you are married.
Cricket, cricket, cricket.
Wow. Okay, so none of us. So that means that just going into our futures, if you get married, if you don't, well, no.
You can say if you find yourself in an unhealthy marriage.
Okay. Okay. If you find yourself in an unhealthy marriage, there is a way out. Now, work through the issues. However, if they are unworkable, know that divorce is there. However, for all of us now, none of us have to worry about that. So the thing that we can do right now to help divorce become unstigmatized, or become to lose the stigma attached with divorce, treat children of divorce just as you would treat anyone else. Allow them to know that if they are currently going through the divorce, let them know that you are there for them and that they're support. And
so maybe it's to help in the negative stigma of divorce. We can all to help in the negative stigma. Mm-hmm. We can all and then you could address treat anyone who has either been through a divorce or is a child of divorce.
Okay. Because I want to address parents.
Yeah, because the first time you said it, you didn't address the parents. You just said children of divorce, and I think both are equally.
Yep, important.
So maybe we'll start there because I think you have the
other one. Okay. Now, to end the stigma around divorce, we must treat all of those who have been in divorce or who are the children of divorce just as anyone else. They are equals. They should not be outsiders because they chose a path that the children didn't choose.
Mm-hmm. So, maybe, because I feel like maybe it's not the fact that we're I guess you kind of talk about how they're not treated equally. But I think we should just maybe, I think the point kind of comes down to don't treat them like they did something bad or are in bad circumstances because it can be healthy. Yeah. Maybe treat them as you would treat anyone from the stereotypical household. Is maybe a way, something around that is how you could word it.
Yeah. Because, I know, people, when they hear about me being divorced, they're like, oh,
oh, that must have been terrible.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, actually, it was like, I'm happy it happened.
I know, like that's
good.
exactly it. And I'm always like, oh, Jesus. Okay, should I then say, like...
To help end the negative stigma around divorce, we can all make an effort to treat anyone who has either been through a divorce or is a child of a divorced family just the same as we would treat anyone from a family that's parents are still together. Something. Or just treat them like we would anyone else. That's a lot shorter and less wordy to say.
Yeah. It's true. Okay. To end the stigma around divorce, we must treat those who were in the divorce or the children of the divorce just as equals. Is that gonna? I'll finish or make it fluffy, but
I like that because I think like the whole point comes down to like don't treat them different. It's not necessarily like it's that yes, divorce is good, but I think your idea is like don't treat those who come from a divorce differently. Is that kind of so? Because like the idea, I think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but just from starting out to when I talked to you when we had our elevator proposals, it was like divorce is okay, and I think it's kind of evolved to like don't treat those because divorce is okay. Don't treat people who've been affected by it any differently.
Yeah.
So is that kind of like the shift of the?
Yes.
So I think like your call to action should be don't treat people who've been affected by divorce differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good.
Where do you think that should go then?
About 8 minutes in.
Okay.
She said 80%. That says, I'm sure when you run it, like practice it, you'll find it, like it'll come, there'll be a point where you can be like, so what we need to do, you just probably could come even closer to the end. Because like, you'll do that and then just be like, hey, this is okay. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but I think having that call to action, because otherwise people are going to be like, you know what, like, okay, this makes sense. Divorce is okay. But like, what do I do?
Yeah, most definitely. Also, Ashley was like, all of your speeches so far have been call to action.
Have been call to action?
Yeah. So everything I've ever, except for the sales one. Yeah, I don't think the sales.
Because wasn't your
cha-cha
was bees, right?
Bees.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we need to stop hurting the bees.
Yeah, mine was just like I did not have a call to action. Mine for cha-cha. I was
no,
like,
but you didn't need to. It was a very informational one.
It's like Tiger Woods has broke my heart. He's playing again this weekend. He shot a 69 his first.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's 3 under. It's like not like Tiger Woods in his prime good, but like he's gonna make the cut. So
I don't really get golf.
I'm not a lot of people do, but I'm really excited that he's back. Like as a kid, he was my hero. I was like,
do you know Bryce Novak?
I know the name.
He plays golf.
Where at?
He's a student here.
That's okay. That's what I thought. Is he on a golf team here?
I have no idea.
I've heard the name for sure.
I just know he golfed a lot this summer. He was in orientation too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know Adam Van Dam?
Adam Van Dam, yeah, he's in my fraternity.
Yeah.
He's yeah, I'm really close with Adam.
Yeah. He's the one I know too.
Yeah, he did orientation.
Yeah.
It always seems like it'd be fun, but I don't think I could.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have that and another job this summer. So, and I was already exhausted last year, but like, it doesn't pay a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, you get good hours and free food and housing, but like, I'm already paying for housing here.
Yeah, I know, me too.
So did you stay at your house, or did you stay at?
No, last year I only lived in Doherty because my house started in August.
Oh.
But then this year I have a house.
So you'll live in the house?
No, I'll still live in the residence hall.
Do you guys have to live in the residence hall?
I think we do, at least on nights when we work in the morning.
Huh.
But I don't know. We're also like not supposed to have people over too, which I don't know if that's true as well. So like, there are a bunch of like unwritten rules.
Wait, you're not allowed to have people like over to the dorms, like
significant others spending the night.
You're not allowed to.
I don't think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know.
Stricter than.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people got in trouble with alcohol and drugs this summer too.
I'm sure.
Because they were showing up high to work.
Really?
Working with kids, though, it takes a lot. So I wasn't one of them. But, yeah.
I had Jaron Wilt as my orientation.
Are you a junior?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know.
He graduated. I don't know if he's graduated. He's a Lambda Chi. Not that makes it easier to know him.
No, see, I don't know anything about Greek life.
No,
Nothing.
I almost did my speech on Greek life.
Like, good or bad?
Good. I'm a big fan of Greek life, and I think that.
Why?
I am a big fan of Greek life because, in my experience, in my life, there's been two things that have shaped me to be who I am. One is my faith walk and my religion, and then the other has been my involvement in Phi Kappa Psi. And I know that there's so fraternities are all so different. There's some that do not build their members up and make them better. Mm-hmm. We have some of those on campus, mm-hmm. But I think the large majority of them give their members leadership experience. They teach them how to work with other people that have maybe different lifestyles, different beliefs, and you guys also will tend to have the same values. That's kind of why you're in the same fraternity. But it teaches you how to work with people who are slightly different than yourself. And I've had no other opportunity in my entire life that has given me the experience or just the opportunity to lead people. Whether that's just in small ways, hey, we need to get this done, or in positions I can say I led an event or I led this and I organized 80 guys to do this, and they're all college guys, but sometimes it's organizing toddlers, and then
I know.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be very different within the next 5 years.
Do you think that they're going to shut it down?
I don't think colleges will ever. From my view, the most donations come to colleges from people who are Greek. I think that if they shut down Greek life, a lot of those donations will kind of dry up because a lot of people, I think, when they think of their fondest memories at that university, come from their involvement in Greek life. And so I think that a university just being it's done. But I know that the rules and regulations are about to change, and I'm honestly okay with it because I didn't join a fraternity party.
And that's my thing too. I've never gone to a frat party because I've always felt like I would feel unsafe.
Which is a shame because there are probably 3 fraternities on this campus that I would be yeah, those probably are not the safest. But as far as the rest, there's 14 fraternities, and there's 3.
But still, that there are 3. And I know that there's always one bad apple kind of thing, but still, the fact that there are 3 large groups that bad things can occur in.
Oh, I had. Given the situation that we're in now, my personal belief is that our director of Greek life has been very laxed. I serve, for my fraternity, I'm on our national exec board. So there's 6 undergraduates and 4 adults from across the nation that get to represent our fraternity on the national level. So I've got to see, on other campuses, when things happen, what the immediate response is. There are 3 organizations on this campus that if their actions that they've taken on our campus would have happened on other campuses, they'd be gone. Some of them have done these things multiple times. Anywhere else, they're done. Yeah. Here, it's strike 3, and they're well, we don't really know. And so I think that our Greek life system has just covered up things for those 3 organizations. True. And I think where we're at now, they're the public's wait, you're letting them get away with this stuff, and all of a sudden people are really frustrated, and so the Office of Greek Life's oh my gosh, what do we do? And they just shut it all down. And so I think it was an overreaction because they failed to do their job and keep the organizations that are doing bad things accountable, mm-hmm. which is awful in my opinion because the 11 other organizations on this campus that are keeping their nose clean, that are doing community service, and a lot of it have really good grades, are I don't know. There's I'm really frustrated with it, and then people are oh well, our director of Greek life has won a lot of awards, and in my opinion, she's won awards because it looks like nothing's bad is happening on our campus because there's no punishment, but I think she's winning awards because it looks like it's all going well.
That's
but
true.
It's not.
Yeah.
I
enjoy having these conversations because I am just such an outsider.
And what frustrates me is there's people on this campus that are Greek that just are screw this, fuck that. And no, there's good cause for what's happening, but I think it was handled. I think it was a very reactive, like overreaction because.
Do you think that they should have just shut those 3 down? I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, no, and that really, like, to me, that's not like I'm not gonna be like, yeah, screw these guys, like, because I mean, I have friends in all of them. Like, I think you should, because like every fraternity, even like the worst fraternity in my opinion on this campus, has great guys in it. Like at least one good guy. That's why they're still here when it comes down to it. But I don't know. It's been frustrating. But as far as like not being able to have parties, like I'm like, it's less stress for me because like I normally don't go to the parties. Like,
yeah.
But it is like it bums me out to hear like they're like I don't feel safe at frat parties in general because like honestly the main like compliment my fraternity gets is like girls are like, you know what, I feel safe. Like the brothers watch out for like everyone, not only their brothers but like for the guests, and like that to me like our parties aren't like wild like crazy bangers, which like obviously would be fun, but I'd rather people feel safe than feel like, man, Fireside, we're gonna go have a like crazy good time. Like you can have a good time and be safe. I don't know. And Miss Coker's gonna get a long ramble about.
I think she'll enjoy it though, to be honest, because we were gonna do a persuasion on Greek life.
I don't know. I think it's a weird combo when I say like the 2 things that have shaped me as a man have been like my faith walk and Greek life because I feel like people never expect those things to coexist. But like I don't know. I wouldn't be who I was today if it wasn't for like the experiences, the people I've met, and the things I've done through Phi Psi, and then also my religion. Like those have shaped me as a man 100%, and I think that's really.
Yeah, see, I lost my faith through divorce,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like I'm not atheist, I'm not like that, but I'm just like spiritual because I don't believe in the institution of the church because I was Catholic.
Yeah.
So that.
I always have interesting views on like Catholicism. I think there's some Catholic churches that are like they really like are doing great things and get it, and then I think there's some that are just like, in my opinion, because it's like a sect of Christianity, it should be more relational, and it should be more like between you. It should not be a ritual or a ceremony that you do every week. It should be a day-to-day thing that you're living out. And I think that as far as like Christianity-based religions, I feel like Catholicism is the one that gets wrapped up in the day-to-day or like the once a week like ceremony. It shouldn't be a ceremony. It should be like honestly, Sunday should just be like a time for you to like just be somewhere where it's easy to like connect.
True.
Because I think all week you should be doing that, and then Sunday should be like a recharge.
And I think that's like where I'm with it because I'm like I don't enjoy Mass. I think it's stupid and pointless.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I'm just like I know I'm trying to be my best person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do whatever the entity above us is wanting, that kind of thing. So.
And I think like my biggest thing, this is not a quote from me. I heard it somewhere else, but I think it's really relevant. Is like people always view like the church gets viewed as a museum for saints when it should be a hospital for those who are broken. And like it should be a place where like people are built up and like recharged and like are able like I don't know. It shouldn't be like people go and be fake and like, oh, we're perfect. Like we're gonna sing these songs. It should be like a place where like you're built back up. Like you come in and like you've had a rough week and like the world's really been beating down on you. It should be like your time to like.
Yeah, I never felt like that.
And that's been like the biggest blessing because when I was a kid, my family, I grew up Methodist, loved my church, met my best friend there, but like the sermons were dry and it was very like ceremony driven, I guess. And then my dad just randomly like we were really connected and involved in the church. My dad one day was like, we need to go try out this different church. And like I was livid because like my best friend was there and all this stuff, and we started going to this new church, and I hated it. I was so bitter. And then like the more I got comfortable, like the Spirit was moving, I guess, which is like such a cliche to say, like, but like I don't know, it was more authentic, and the people there.
What was this then?
I go to Brooklyn, like back home.
But is it still Methodist?
It's non-denominational.
Okay.
And I think that there's some non-denominational churches that I feel like really get it, and they're really like people are connected. And then there's some that I think people go check it off the box and then go back to like doing whatever the hell they want.
Sure.
And I think that's something that non-denomination really struggles with. But I think all kind of struggle with that.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I don't know. I'm not going to tell anyone that they need to do whatever when it comes down to it. Like, I can tell you my experience and what I've seen and where like I've been, and like I'm not going to be like you need to do this. I can
I know. That's my thing, too. Catholics are very much so. Spread the word. Make a sign that abortions are bad. And I'm just like...
Yeah, and I'm all about evangelism. Like, I love that. I love doing mission work and stuff like that. Like, I love it. But when it comes down to it, like, me, like, being aggressively, like, you need to do this, it's not going to be effective.
No, crew one time, they like had me draw Jesus on a cross. And I yelled at them, and that was when I was still Catholic. And I was like, excuse you? That's a cult. I don't know much. Oh, it was Happy Friday.
I missed him.
He was skating.
What a guy. But, I don't know. I really do, like, I really appreciate when people, like, ask about Greek life with, like, an open mind and aren't just like, you guys are all a bunch of rapists, because that really infuriates me.
I do believe that, like, just, like, there are, oh my god, there he is.
Right through. Love that.
But I just do think that there are, like, the certain people. And so, like, I think that can hurt them. Oh, we can do the call to act, or what we need to plan. So that can be the ending of it. So that you can,
the playing, check off all the boxes?
Yep.
So I think what we talked about is making sure that you nail down the your call to action. Make sure you have that worded and, like, have, like, a slide that's just like, like, maybe just like, it's okay. I think that I liked that idea, but
sure.
do what you will. And then obviously make the PowerPoint, and I think focus on the, like, one, like, seriousness and, like, happy tones throughout, and then also weaving your personal anecdote through all of your, like, research and statistics. Sure. Because I think that makes it much more applicable. But other than that, I think you're on a really good path to an awesome Big Talk.
Let's hope so.